All right, fellas, it's going to be the championship pieces video. In this video, I'm going to take a look at each league-winning lineup from every season in our league's history so far, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to take a look at some of the trends within these lineups. Before I jump into the first lineup, I want to take a quick look at a few notes here. So each lineup shown is going to be the lineup that won in the championship game. So some of the lineups are different on that off-season tab, but all of these lineups will be from the championship week. And then before 2019, the stats fell off for ESPN. So there's no position rankings and there's no week-to-week lineups. I just use whatever lineup is provided. So jumping into the lineups here, there's a lot to look at on each of these screens. So I'm not going to hit on every player. I'm just going to discuss what jumps out to me. But the first two seasons of the league I called the launch era, and the first winning team was Tim's team in 2016. So this was the Matt Ryan MVP year, and then it was also Ezekiel Elliott's rookie season, I believe his best season of his career. But basically all of these players are retired now. I think Zeke's actually the only one still active. But what you can see from this team is two very strong running backs. And you can also see that in the championship, it looks like Tim made some either matchup decisions or there were some injuries on his team, but he started to lower positioned players in Vernon Davis and Steve Smith over Devontae Adams and Jordan Reed. Also, the benches. I just included any fantasy relevant player. If it was like remotely close, I just put them on there just for additional context. But that top bench square will associate with the team on the left, and that bottom bench square will associate with the team on the right. Looking into Kluss's 2017 team, you can see as the top two running backs, very classic for Kluss to have two very strong running backs, but DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver 2 season, and then you can see there in the flex spot, Josh Gordon, wide receiver 100. So I took a look into that. I believe Josh Gordon was probably suspended, but he only started 5 games, I believe, this season. And Kluss didn't really have anyone else significant on his bench. He did have Will Fuller, but Will Fuller only played 10 games, although he did have 7 touchdowns, so this might have been the big Will Fuller year, and Kluss may have used Will Fuller in the first half and then Josh Gordon down the stretch. So the next two lineups are Kerr's back-to-back championship teams, Matt Ryan making his second appearance with a ring, and then Kerr had sophomore Kamara, McCaffrey, and Kittle, and then rookie Nick Chubb. So a lot of young players on this team, 2 very good running backs there. And then jumping to his 2019 team, Christian McCaffrey again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Up to this point in Christian McCaffrey's career. Then you can see there he has Derrick Henry on the bench, even though he was the RB5. And I believe Derrick Henry was healthy for this game. So Kerr just made a call to start Mike Boone over Derrick Henry. So pretty impressive there in the championship. And then also between both these lineups, he had the top defense and top kickers from both these seasons. That 2018 Bears defense that was dominant. And then I believe that's Stephon Gilmore's Defensive Player of the year for the Patriots. The next two lineups here are my back-to-back championship winning seasons. That first 2020 season. This team honestly is not good. Neither of the running backs meet positional value. Neither of the receivers meet positional value. Chris Carson, basically just Kenneth Walker of 2020. But interesting to see there that I have Zeke benched, even though he was top 10 finishing running back. And I have no idea what I did at the wide receiver 2 position. There's no way I ran with Kiki QT the whole year. But on this team, I only had 2 players on my bench also. So I really don't know what was going on here. But for this team to win the championship, Mahomes and Kelsey must have just absolutely carried, being the number 1 player at their positions. Looking at my 2021 championship team, this is a team that I remember the most. Josh Allen, QB2, Cooper Kupp, 2021 legacy wide receiver season. And then I had 3 rookies, Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts, and Najee Harris. All played great. And ever since this season, I've just hammered rookies in my drafts. And you can also see this was Antonio Gibson's really good season. And it looks like Saquon Barkley had a bust year this year as well. All right, so looking at the next two lineups, I called this the start of the open era. I called it this because each of the last three seasons, so 2022, 2023, and 2024, the first through third finishers have been made up of 8 different people. So there's only been one repeat podium finisher in the last 3 seasons. So basically, everyone's had a piece in the last 3 years. So looking at Sam's 2022 lineup, led by Patrick Mahomes, QB1, Mahomes' second appearance in a championship team. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 2. This was the big Dolphins offense here. And then George Kittle, tight end 3. And you can see there again, Derrick Henry finishing as a top 5 running back on the bench. Looking at the 2023 league leading third championship winning lineup for Mr. Kerr, we have Dak Prescott at the QB2, Kyron Williams, sophomore year, RB6, Trey McBride, sophomore year, tight end 7. Then you can see his bench. He had quite a lot of talent on his bench. And for the third time, Derrick Henry wins a championship on the bench. So looking into last year's championship lineup, Grayson's team, you can see Jaden Daniels, rookie year, Josh Jacobs, and Devon Achane, 2 very strong running backs. And then down there at the bottom, Trey McBride and Justin Jefferson with both elite finishes. Just a very overall strong lineup. Had 5 players there finish within single-digit position rankings. And then obviously this year's champion is still to be determined. Looking at a quick ring count for each member of the league so far, we got Kerr with 3, myself with 2, Tim, Kless, Sam, and Grayson each with 1. Then we got Joe, Cal, Alex, and Colt looking for their first ring this season. So I'm going to spend a lot of time on this page. These are just the trends that I noticed that I think are relevant. Some of them may seem insignificant, but I'm going to take a look at each of them and add some analysis as to why I think these are important. So you can see their elite quarterback, top 3 finish at the quarterback position. 6 out of the 9 championship teams had this. This is one of the results of us having 6-point passing touchdowns. Having a high-end quarterback can provide you a significant advantage. You see guys like Patrick Mahomes with 2 championships. Josh Allen has a championship. I don't think Lamar has a championship yet in our league, but just those types of players that can create such an advantage, especially in the playoffs when you need big games. Just very important to championship teams. So looking at that next one, 2 elite RBs, having 2 running backs finish in the top 5 at the running back position. You can see the majority of teams have not had this, so only 4 out of 9 championship teams have had 2 elite running backs. The reason I pointed this out is because all 4 of these occurrences were the first 4 seasons of the league. So whether that's the NFL changing, whether that's just fantasy relevance changing, it's just important to note that maybe having very, very strong running backs aren't as important anymore. So 2 elite wide receivers, having 2 receivers finish in the top 5 at the wide receiver position is only 1 out of 9. So this one, even more than the previous one, you're like, Michael, why are you calling this out? Only one team has had this. Why do you think this is a building block? It's actually the opposite. I think this is a big reason as to why teams don't win championships. So when you think about getting 2 top 5 wide receivers are generally very stable year to year. Like, you know that Justin Jefferson is going to be good. You know that Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be good. Jamar Chase year to year. So to get those level of players, you generally need to pick 2 wide receivers in the first 2 rounds. And when you do this, you guys know, it's basically going 0 RB. You set the rest of your lineup back a lot, and you can see the teams that have done that have not been able to win championships. So elite tight end, having a top 3 finish at the tight end position. 5 out of 9 championship teams did this. I think there is a huge positional advantage if you're able to land an elite tight end, especially because most teams only draft 1. So hitting that positional value is huge for a championship team. So the next one, QB plus skill position stack, basically just your standard QB stack. Only 1 out of 9 teams have done this. I don't think people necessarily shoot for this, but it is just like a popular thing people like to do. The reason that this, in my opinion, is not a championship winning strategy is just because you're in the playoffs. You really need to win 3 games in a row unless you get a bye. But if your stack doesn't perform well in the regular season for 1 week, it's not a big deal. Obviously, in the playoffs, 1 loss and you're out. So I think that is the story there. The next one, skill position plus skill position stack, 2 out of 9. So one of these was a Kiki QT David Johnson stack, and I didn't want to count it, but it was a result, so I included it. The only true, in my opinion, skill position stack was on Sam's team. He had Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. So just in general, it's really hard to stack 2 skill position players on the same team. I had touched on it from this year's draft when Kless drafted Saquon and A.J. Brown, but it just limits your ceiling, and obviously in the playoffs, you're playing the best teams, and you can't afford to lose, so you need a high volume of points each week. Looking into the next category, we have elite rookies having a top 10 finish at your respective position for a rookie. 3 out of 9 teams did this. What I get from this is it's not necessary to hit on a home run rookie pick, but if you do, it can be a big reason as to why you end up winning a championship. Next, we have elite defense, top 3 finish at the defensive fantasy position. So 6 out of 9 teams did this. I was very surprised at how high this number was, but it just shows that landing a strong defense like the 2018 Bears, 2019 Patriots, 2021 Cowboys can create a strong positional advantage for yourself. Next category, we have elite kicker, top 3 fantasy finish at the kicker position. 3 out of 9 teams did this. I don't think this is super relevant, but it was pretty interesting to see there that Kerr had 2 kicker ones there in back-to-back championship winning teams. All right, so this final one, the spot starts. This was the most interesting one to me. So what I qualified this as was any player that started in a championship lineup that finished outside the top 50 at their position. So basically what this means is you didn't use this player likely for the majority of the regular season because they weren't producing fantasy points, but in the championship, you trusted your managerial gut and started them. So 7 out of 9 teams did this. Just goes to show that fantasy really is week to week, and making those decisions, you can see almost every championship team had to make that decision. So just part of fantasy football. It's what makes it exciting. Overall, I think these trends can help you build a championship lineup in drafts and throughout the season. But at the same time, nothing here is 9 out of 9. There's no guaranteed way to win a championship. So I just thought this would be an interesting video to take a look at, and that's all I have. So the next video will be the Intel video on Monday. Thank you, guys.